All right, so today's class, this is part 2 of people and plants, and we'll look at medicine, we'll look at construction, transportation, and fuel. All right, so more than 7,000 medicines today are made from plants, things like drugs for the heart, cancer medicines, antibiotics, pain medications, and so on. But the Aboriginal people, they've known about the medicinal uses from plants for centuries. For example, they used the plants around them before the medicines we now have were available. Ginger, for example, tea made from ginger root was used to soothe an upset stomach. We'll look at these a little bit more, but the bark from a white willow tree is how we get aspirin, which is used for pain relief. Opium poppies provide morphine, which is a strong painkiller. Cinchona trees provide quinine, which is used to prevent malaria. All right, so first we'll talk about plants for medicine and pain medication. So plants will often give us blueprints for medicines that scientists can then copy in laboratories. For centuries, it's been known that the bark of the white willow eased pain, so a very important pain medication. So that exact ingredient from the tree was isolated through testing, and now these pain medications can be synthetically manufactured in laboratories. Okay, so the example is aspirin. Opium poppies, these are the source of morphine, which is the most powerful natural pain medication of all. It's found in the milky fluid of the poppy's seed pod and also in the stems and leaves of the poppy. Codeine is also found in the poppy, and it's used in cough medicines and for the relief of other cold symptoms. All right, and quinine comes from cinchona trees. It was used as a prevention for malaria, which is a deadly disease carried by mosquitoes, certain tropical mosquitoes. And until quinine became widely available, malaria was killing approximately 2 million people each year. And it was discovered in 1820. Then in 1944, American scientists, they were able to produce synthetic quinine in the laboratory. But the malarial parasite developed resistance to that manufactured quinine, and it's no longer effective in some areas of the world, right, because of that resistance. But the natural quinine, it's still effective everywhere. All right, so we'll pause here. I have a couple videos. All right, so next we are looking at plants for transportation and construction. So rubber, it's one of the most important plant products that people use. So humans, they figured out how to turn liquid rubber, called latex, into a hard yet flexible material. Basically, our world changed dramatically. Without rubber, we wouldn't have things like cars, airplanes, or even spacecraft. So natural rubber comes from, there's only one tree. It's a Brazilian rubber tree, the Hevea tree. So all natural rubber originates from the Hevea tree. Okay, so note that I'm talking about natural rubber. So this tree is currently the only source of natural rubber. Scientists are researching alternative plants to supply this useful product, but today most vehicle tires contain some synthetic rubber. All right, so that's synthetic rubber, which is made from coal and oil byproducts. Okay, but even so, natural rubber, it's still an important part for making those materials. All right, this diagram is just showing latex being tapped from a rubber tree. Plants have also influenced transportation on water. So for example, Aboriginal people in Canada, they were making canoes from trees. Here, the west coast of Canada, the Aboriginal people, they were hollowing out huge trunks of the western red cedar with a combination of some carvings and controlled burnings. Here, Aboriginal people of the interior regions of North America, they were using the bark of the white birch to make canoes. All right, next we're talking about lubricants, which are important, especially because they're being used to oil machinery, machinery parts to ensure that they're working properly and to limit the amount of friction that happens. So there are certain plants that are the source of lubricants. For example, from coconut and castor bean oils. All right, so vehicles, racing cars, airplane engines, they use these lubricants that are made partially from coconut and castor bean oils, and others may be synthetic. All right, plants are used for construction all around the world. All right, so which we are already aware of. 90% of the houses in North America are made of wood. Most of the timber that's used today for construction comes from softwood trees. So when I talk about softwood trees, these are the conifers, such as hemlock or fir or any of these others shown here in the diagram. Conifers are the trees that have the needles and the cones. Forests of the Pacific Northwest, especially in British Columbia, they provide a large proportion of the softwood timber that's used around the world. Okay, so just summarizing here, plants for transportation and construction. So rubber trees, they brought about tires, which has enabled cars, planes, spacecraft. Wood is used in construction around the world. And then lastly, we're going to talk about plants, how plants are also used for fuel, ethanol blended gasoline. Okay, so in many places in the world, wood is still being used as a fuel source, so wood is burned for fuel, but in other countries it's coal that is used. So coal, it comes from plants that were growing on Earth millions of years ago. They died and they got covered with sediment, and then over many years, the layers of sediment built up. There was a lot of weight and heat and pressure and so on that compressed the plant tissues, and then under that intense pressure and heat, they underwent chemical and physical changes to become coal. So ethanol is one example. The sugar in some plants can be turned into this liquid fuel called ethanol. Another type is called methanol, and that is made from wood. It's also called wood alcohol. So producing fuel from plants, it's economical, but it's not very energy efficient. So a large amount of the energy that's required to grow and harvest the crop, and then a lot of energy is lost when plants are converted to fuel. But they do provide an alternative fuel source in our world where oil and gas are limited, the fossil fuels. All right, so we do have a video here on how ethanol is made. I'm going to pause here. So lastly is just human needs and plant needs. So basically we need to make sure that plants survive and thrive. We need to maintain healthy conditions to support the plants that help support us. Right, so this diagram is just asking a very important question. Will there always be enough plants to support the need of the human population for food and fiber, especially since the human population is growing? All right, so we're going to stop here for today. The homework is how plants are useful, the part 2 worksheet.